listening to The Gender Rebels.
I'm Kathleen, a cis woman and ally.
And I'm Faith, a trans woman.
Gender Rebels is a question and answer podcast that explores life outside the gender binary.
A big thanks to our Patreon supporters.
If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/genderrebels. Hey everyone, I'm Kath.
And I'm Faith.
Hey Faith, I got a question.
Sure, what's your question?
What did you do 2 days ago?
Oh gosh, what did I do 2 days ago? Well, I got up and I brushed my teeth.
Good.
And I took care of some stuff. And I went and got some electrolysis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I mistakenly went for a nostalgic Taco Bell, which turned me off Taco Bell forever. So another story for another time.
She's lying. We'll be back there in 2 years.
But other than that, I went to the hospital. I went to Mount Sinai here in New York City.
Are you sick?
I am not. Well, I have dysphoria, which is a medical condition that can be treated with surgery.
Yay!
So I went there for a consultation for facial feminization surgery.
FFS.
The great FFS.
Yes. So we've talked about SRS and GRS and HRT and top surgery and bottom surgery, but this one is different.
I think we're going to have to revisit acronyms. We did that. Isn't
that like our second episode?
That was like our second episode,
yeah.
But I think we could revisit it. So I don't know how many people will actually go back and binge the Gender Rebels all the way back to the beginning, but...
So very quickly, we discuss SRS, which is sex reassignment surgery, also known as GRS, gender reassignment surgery.
Also known as GCS, gender confirming surgery.
I think that's the preferred term now.
Yeah.
Everyone knows HRT. Top surgery is boobs, getting them or losing them. Bottom surgery is the crotch, fixing it. And FFS.
Yeah.
Facial feminization
surgery.
And they don't have a facial masculinization.
You know, I did some reading on this, and there is facial masculinization surgery, but it's not very common. Because testosterone will do a lot of that.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. And also there's a lot of variety in masculine faces. And a face can have facial hair, but not like the strongest jaw in the world. It still reads as male.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of variety in women's faces, too. So there's a lot of variety. People come in all shapes and sizes, and they're all equally valid.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yet you're going to F your F.
I'm going to F my F.
Talk about it.
Well, I went in, and it was interesting. It was fun, because there was a big room full of trans girls in the waiting room.
Hello, every girl.
And I couldn't quite... I wanted to be like, hey, who are you? What are you doing? What are you here for? What are they slicing up on you? But
you knew what they were there for,
I knew,
right?
but, well, you can't, because in our previous episode, Picking Up a Transmission, when you see someone who's trans, who you were able to identify as trans for whatever reason, or you think they're trans, you can't fucking go up to them and say, hey, you're transgender, because that is just...
Hey, you totally don't pass.
Yeah.
I do. So it's a good thing I came over and introduced myself.
Yeah, so it can just kind of be a dig in the heart to someone. So got, waited in the waiting room, filled out a lot of paperwork. A lot of paperwork. And then we went, they called me in. And, took my insurance info and all that stuff. Took me in and got me in the little exam room. And they...
Did you have to get naked and put on a paper dress?
I did not.
Good.
I did not, which is nice.
Because it's just your face. Hello. Why would they do that?
I guess if you went in like a, some sort of face covering thing, like a hijab or something, it's very possible they would make you take it off. But
paper hijab.
Yes. They... No, it's a medical professional.
I know.
And this was a woman, so, it'd be fine anyway. But, so they sat down on the computer and they meticulously went through every single thing that was on the paper so that they could re-enter it and asking me it every single time again. That's all. I'm sure there's a liability concern in there somewhere. Anywho, if there's ever anything stupid, you're like, there's this stupid thing that doesn't make sense in the world, 9 times out of 10, it's probably someone trying to avoid liability.
Yep.
I.e., they don't want to get sued over it. So, anywho, they, sent me back there, took a little bit of vitals, and then, you wait around the room some more. Mm-hmm. And then the doctor came in.
Yay.
She was young. So, sort of surprising, because every time I'm 38. Every time I see a young doctor, I'm always like, you're young. But then I like think about it, and I'm like, if I had gone to medical school straight out of college, I would have probably about a decade of medical experience at this point in my life. So it's conceivable that this person is definitely they're a trained medical doctor and a surgeon in a pretty decent hospital with a good reputation. So
one of the top in the world. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Just being clear, because
I know.
Faith was being sarcastic, and you might not have picked that up, so I just had to be clear with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so basically this was the doctor there. So this was Dr. Avanesian. She's very nice. Mm-hmm. I've read good things about her, and she basically took me through kind of, what do you want?
Yeah.
What are you looking for?
So she didn't walk in and go, oh, I see what you want. She needed to talk it through.
And I had put it in my letters, and I had put it in, prior to this, I'd gotten letters from medical provider and from a mental health provider. Mm-hmm. And so I had my letters, they had all the details. Mm-hmm. I had given the details on my forms, but this was just kind of a third thing to go through it. Mm-hmm. And, I have big issues with my brow ridge. Mm-hmm. Those of you who might see my pictures online and you're like, hey, Faith, you're pretty. We all see different things in our faces.
Sure.
And you will only ever see pictures of me online from the front.
No
will
profile.
Never see a profile. I carefully select and, curate my photos that go online, because I am very, if my picture is not in the perfect light and from the perfect angle, I hate it. And a lot of it has to do with my facial bone structure. My brow is rather thick, and I feel like my eyes are in caves because of that. And the area between my eyebrows is kind of raised as part of that ridge. My nose is weirdly shaped. It's straight, but it's straight in that one, like, side to side dimension. On its x-axis, it's a very straight and narrow thing. But then if you look at it from the side, it's just weirdly shaped. It's got a bump on it, and it sort of curves down at the end, and a little sort of hangs down weirdly. It's terrible. And then my chin, which again from the front, size-wise, is not too crazy. I obviously, I'd love it if it was, a little more feminine jawline, but it jets out a lot.
So it sounds
especially
like
from the side.
Your issue is mostly your profile, and then when you're able to take those photos full on, people don't really see the extent.
It's harder to see,
that these things might be prominent,
and in good light. Yeah. I actually had a situation recently. This was this like saddened me to no end, because I met a band that I really, really like. They're an awesome band. They're super feminist, and put on a hell of a show. They're called The Regrets. I will link down below. If you love female-fronted punk bands, then boom, here you go. This is them. Anyway, I got to meet them at their show and to, get my record autographed, and someone else had asked for a picture, and they were like, do you want a picture too? And I'm like, yes, please. And it was such bad lighting that in all the pictures, the band looks fine. Band members look fine. I look like a friggin' Gollum or something weird.
You can't tweak it?
I did what I could. Believe you me. My picture with the regrets, I really, really tried to make sure it was good. But it were not.
Your skills.
I looked like a caveman. Okay.
Oh.
So.
All right. So.
Like a Neanderthal.
And how annoying is it, because it's like this opportunity, but they're not going to hang out for 300 different shots.
No.
So you just have to go with what you want and hope they get you from the right angle, and then they're moving on to the next person.
Yeah.
They got their shit to do.
I know. It was just like, so I have very, very strong issues with my face.
Sure.
Especially when I see it from those other angles, or I see it like, I see stuff. So I told the doctor, my brow and my nose and my chin. And so she took a look at everything and she was like, okay, your brows, you've got a decent ridge, but it's not horrible. There's two options they can do. So they can first, you got to peel off your face. It's just what it is. They don't pull it off like way off. They pull it off just enough to do what they're doing. Okay. But so they make a cut in the top of your head. I've had hair transplants, so I had to be like, let's double check this.
Yeah.
So there's two things they could do. One is they can just sort of shave the bone down. So you take off a little bit of bone, so it's just more smooth and minimal. The other thing you can do is literally break the bone and kind of put it back together with some titanium pins and things like that. Oh my God. And she said that she didn't really like doing that method because it was much more invasive and much more prone to potential complications.
Definitely. That sounds horrifying. Wow.
I mean, it all sounds horrifying.
Like
all surgery sounds horrifying. When I talked to facial team, like the Spanish FFS people, that's the method they wanted to go with. They wanted to like cut off the entire piece of bone, saw it down, and then like bolt it back on. And I was like, that seems invasive. So she was like, yeah, we can do that. And just shave it down a little bit, and especially like between my brows too, shave that down a little bit, and so there's that.
And the nose?
Well, she talked about my hairline. She was like, do you want your hair? She's like, your hairline is kind of in between.
Oh, interesting.
She was like, it's sort of high, but it's not too high. And it's sort of just in that kind of area. Some people have their hairline brought down. And she said, in your case though, because it's kind of right on the cusp where it's like, it's not too high. It's sort of in that bell curve. It's within the bell curve.
Okay.
But she was like, but you risk potentially visible scarring on your forehead.
Oh, I see.
If you do that. And I was like, yeah, I'm sort of okay with that. Plus, I know that hair transplants are like hair and it's grown in, but I'm like, no, let's just not mess with that right now.
Okay. So she was saying you could bring your hairline farther down, but then there might be scars.
And that for me, it was kind of not really worth it. And I agreed with that.
At the time that you heard that, were you thinking, I got transplants and they've got me on the fucking cusp?
Yeah, I mean, transplants can only do so much.
I mean, they could bring that line farther down so you weren't on the cusp.
They did. I mean, they did the transplants they could do because they also got to worry about thickness.
I mean, I think you look beautiful.
If you look at my hairline, what it was before to what it is now, this is amazing.
Oh, totally. 100%.
And so I'm sort of like, potential scarring. I kind of agree with the doctor.
I agree as well.
So, on my nose, it was, so on my nose, she was like, yeah, your nose is straight and it's got this weird bump. And she's like, we can thin that out and take care of that and give it a little more smooth, normal look. And she said on my tip, she was like, she said, you've got these defined nasal points or something like that. I forget the term she used. And I was like, I've never heard of this before. But apparently it's a thing you can have on your nose that just kind of defines it. And
that she said is a good thing.
Yeah, and apparently it's feminine to have it. Yay. So she kept calling my nose feminine, and I'm like, lady, I don't know. Do you say this to everyone, or
why would
is my nose actually
her whole business?
I know, right?
Selling something to people. But
masculine. And I said, are my nostrils like too elongated? And she's like, no, they're not. They're fine. And I'm like, okay. And then I saw, she said they could bring the tip up a little bit because genetic women's noses tend to kind of stick up a little bit.
Okay.
Point upward, like toward the sky rather than kind of down. So she said they could do that and trim down that bone a little bit. So that one, they go in through your nose.
Yowza.
So they don't actually make incisions. Okay. There's no scarring.
That's great.
It's just through the nose. And yeah, all of this squicks me out.
Oh.
Every single part of surgery as a concept squicks me out because we're really just these walking bags of meat.
Yeah.
That can be sliced and diced up in so many different ways. And like all surgery is kind of gross.
Yes.
And weird and squicky.
Yes.
One of my big fears about surgery is I've heard reports that you can, like, the anesthesia can screw up and you can, like, be aware, but you can't move or communicate and you just have to, like, sit there and feel the pain of the surgery. And again, that's, like, so incredibly rare.
Oh, my God.
Virtually never happens, but there's also people who say that when you, because we don't know how anesthesia works, doctors, medical science doesn't know how anesthesia works. We know it works, but we don't really know the mechanism how. So some particularly devil-minded people have been like, maybe you experience everything and then it just keeps you from forming a memory of it.
I mean, there is that form of, what's it called? Twilight sleep for childbirth in the bad old days.
Yeah.
It didn't help with the pain, but it helped you forget the pain, which is the most fucked up thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, then you get into weird existential things.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's not think about all this terrible stuff, because there's actual real complications.
True.
But, so then she looked at my lips, and she's like, you know, your lips are... She kept actually saying multiple things about me being feminine. I'm like, great, thanks. I must be crazy, you know. But I think it's like, you get what you get genetics wise. Yes. You don't get everything. You don't get the X, double X, but whatever. So I do have some feminine.
She said your lips are okay.
I'm not built like a linebacker. So she was like, yeah, and she made me do a thing where like I sort of just rest with my mouth open and it's like how much teeth you're showing.
Oh, okay.
Because women show a little more teeth than guys.
Huh. Okay.
And apparently my mouth was feminine enough.
Nice.
And she was like, well, we don't really need to do anything on that. And I was like, okay, good, because the less you do, the better.
And of all of your complaints, I've never heard you say my mouth is so masculine.
No, my mouth and my lips, I'm not worried about it.
Okay, good.
I've read things about that, like women, you know, have the fuller lips or things like that. I honestly don't want to do lip anything, because every time I've seen someone with lip stuff, it just looks horrible. And again, that just means you're seeing the ones where it looks horrible.
Exactly.
You're not noticing the ones where it looks fine.
Right.
On the chin, they go through your mouth, which also squicks me out. But they go through your mouth and shave down a little bit of that bone. Okay. So that's basically what I'm looking at. Her and both the, I don't know what you call it, physician's assistant.
Staff,
who did my intake, kind of were like, oh, no trachea. And they both kind of looked over and they're like, no Adam's apple, so.
Nope, no trachea shave.
No trachea shave necessary, which is great. I like that. I'm happy that I don't have any visible Adam's apple, which is great.
Nice.
I looked out on some things genetically. Other things, no, not so much. Yeah, so
the nose and the forehead and the chin. And
so that's...
Not the jawline and not the cheekbones.
Well, a little bit of it. That will affect the jawline.
Oh, okay, of course, yeah.
Yeah. But the thing I mostly wanted to say was that I really just... I want my face, but just smoothed out. I want my face, but feminine.
Yeah.
I want my face, but it's the Appalachian Mountains and not the Himalayan Mountains. Because the Appalachian Mountains are very, very old. They're one of the oldest geological features on Earth. And they've been smoothed down. So I want my face smoothed
down.
Just my face more feminine.
Over the eons.
And not the masculine stuff on my face. So and she was like, yeah, that's what we do. I really try to make sure I don't want to have plastic surgery face. You know?
Oh, the cookie cutter face. Yeah.
Exactly. And I know of some... I've heard this about some FFS doctors who specialize in it, that they really just make the face. And I'm using quotes for that. Like, they have one kind of face they go for. Kind of like I've heard in South Korea, that's a thing too.
Yeah, and we did have an earlier FFS episode, and we'll link down below, where a friend of ours went and described her experience. And yeah, she said the same thing, is you look at these before and after pictures, and a lot of times for some doctors, you see the face. You see a very consistent look that all of their after pictures have. But as she pointed out, or as we said in the episode, you're not like walking down the street in a line with 10 other people that doctor worked on.
Yeah.
If you like how your face looks, that's not a problem. But I do understand what you're saying is you don't want a huge, drastic change. You want to be you with some of that masculine edge taken off.
Exactly. That's what I want. And
I think that's the best possible outcome.
Yeah. And then, cheekbone implants didn't even come up. That's the thing some people got. I think my cheekbones are fine. I think they're actually one of my best features.
Yeah, and I've seen some cheekbone implants, and they look sort of cadaver-y.
Yeah.
Like, your face isn't bony there. I don't know. Some people have really spectacular, gorgeous bone structure with prominent cheekbones, and others don't. I don't know. There's too many variables. So, yeah. So I had to get x-rays as well. Okay.
I tried to snap a picture of the x-ray, but they were like,
go away.
Sorry, that's a HIPAA violation. And I'm like, it's my HIPAA. I should be able to violate my HIPAA if I want. Anyway, that's
You're
beside the
looking
point.
at my HIPAA.
So,
that's mine.
When I had done my recent consultations for top and bottom surgery, it was at NYU. And so, I got had to wait like a month to hear back from them. I was like following up every week because they were like, you'll hear from us next week. And
that's right. It took a while.
It was next week and the week after and the week after. And maybe we should bleep out the names of these places.
I mean, we can, but people know.
There's only so many places. That's why. And the first thing you say in the trans community half the time when you're like, I'm getting surgery, people are like, what doctor?
Yes.
So that's why I'm kind of like, all right.
It's not a secret.
It's not a secret. And then the waiting list was so long that, one surgery was like, one surgery is like a year, the other's like a year and a half.
Yeah.
So when I sat down with Sinai and they were like, let's get you booked. And their first thing, they were like, April 18th. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? 2019? Yes. I'm like, oh my God, that's like tomorrow.
So for those of you listening in the future, they gave a date that's about 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
Instead of 6 years out.
Yeah, and it kind of freaked me out. And then I was like, whoa, that's too soon. That's too soon. So I was like, she was like, okay, here's this early May. And I was like, okay, fine, early May.
All right.
Even though it's only like 2 weeks in advance, it's still
multiple months away.
It still feels further away. A comfortable distance because I have so much to do and I've got to get, because I have a genetic thing with my heart, which is not really dangerous. I need to get a cardiologist approval
to sign off because of the anesthesia risk.
Yep. And they gave me some information about. They actually gave me like some of the pre-surgery stuff.
Oh my goodness!
Like, here's what you'll do the day of surgery.
Oh my goodness!
But I have a meeting with them prior because they've got to do some blood work and things like that. That'll be, later. I've got to schedule that, and I've got to figure out the insurance. The doctor, for those of you who live in other countries that aren't the U.S., gosh, your medical care, while it might not be world class, it's certainly probably less bureaucratic. So I have to, the doctor, I've given them all the insurance info. They're going to go to the insurance company.
Wow.
And say, hey, insurance company, you paying for this? And the insurance company will say yes or no. And
That's amazing.
If they say no, I can appeal it and, keep trying to push it and we'll see. If they say yes, I'm good to go. Green light. And I'm excited. And they said they usually know within 6 weeks, and that's kind of now. So maybe next week I'll find something out. I'm obviously really hoping it's cleared and covered and everything, because I know some people have fought and won with insurance companies. Other people have fought and lost. We'll see. The only my real hope is that the medical professionals I got to prepare my letters were people who deal with trans people all the time and deal with FFS and insurance all the time. These guys, it's their bread and butter.
Yes.
It's what they do.
Yes.
Like you said, when I handed them my insurance card, they weren't like,
I don't
honey.
know about this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no one really brought up the insurance. So that kind of makes me a little reassured. But on the other hand, it's like, I could still get that fat no.
Sure.
So I'm trying to kind of temper my excitement. I'm excited. I'm nervous, but it still may be something that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
we'll see.
That's my question. Is you just gave us a bunch of facts. You recounted what happened and the facts of the face and what they can do and how they do it. How are you feeling?
It's so funny. That day I felt exhausted. I don't know if it's like emotional. Expending emotion or having extreme emotions, I think is just somehow exhausting because I was beat. And it was just excitement and nervousness and
being in a room full of trans girls?
Being scared and, I'm frightened, I'm excited, I'm super happy, I'm incredibly nervous and nerve-wracked and I literally, as I was talking to the person, I actually asked her if I could borrow a pen, and I sat there starting to make a list of all the stuff I've got to do.
Oh, God.
Which I've gotten through that list. Yay! But, it's all been, I've had to, put in some work stuff. I've got more paperwork for that. I've got,
meaning all the time you would have to take off work?
Time I'd have to take off work.
And they're saying a month.
They're saying a month that they recommend, a month off. And it's probably going to be a night in the hospital. Because if they're doing, again, if insurance pays for that night in the hospital.
Of course.
If they do nasal surgery.
Yes.
Surgery of your nasal passages, say for instance, narrowing them in this case, or doing cuts in there where they've got a packet. With stuff. It's gauze. It could potentially be a breathing issue.
Of course.
So they want you, if you're having a breathing issue, to be in a hospital rather than at your house.
Good plan.
We'll see how that goes. I've never spent the night in a hospital before. I've never had general anesthesia before. Both of these kind of scary. I don't really like hospitals. I don't know anyone who does.
I do.
You do. I think it's very, the first word that leaps to mind is clinical.
Yeah, that's
the second word that kind of leaps to mind is like industrial. It's everything is manufactured to serve a purpose, and everything is kind of big and bulky and plasticky with tubes, and it's sort of I feel like everything in the hospital kind of reminds me of like pain and mortality.
That's fair. That's a logical way to think about it.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. I'll bring either my laptop or something. I'll probably be too exhausted or pained up on anything.
I'll bring you all the books, all the laptops, all the CDs. I don't know what you'll need.
Well, I have a feeling I'm not going to be. The surgery's at 5:45 a.m. Or you get there at 5:45 a.m. And then they said it's a 3-hour surgery, which is not that long as far as surgeries go. When you got your nose, not your nose job, but you got some nasal, you got some nasal passages.
It was a nose job now that you think about it.
Yeah, sort of.
Yes. When I got my sinus surgery.
How long was that surgery?
I honestly have no idea. We went in early in the morning.
Yeah.
They knocked me out. I woke up. We came home. I went back to sleep. Like I wasn't really like in a checking my watch kind of place an hour. I honestly have no idea.
It was probably around the 3-hour mark.
Yeah.
Because I remember I kind of had to go kill some time outside the hospital.
Took a walk or
watched
a movie or
I went to a diner and just sort of hung out. Yeah. I didn't want to take in a movie because they said they would call me and
I see
and let me know you were ready. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously I'm super excited. I'm worried, a little anxious, hoping that it gets approved. I'm hoping that nothing goes wrong. The biggest complication, it seemed like, from what they went through, is that there can be potential nerve damage.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. I thought you would say infection.
Well, no, they said because infection's always a possibility in any medical situation. It's areas, your crotch and your head are two areas where you've got a lot of blood flow. Yes. And where you have a lot of blood flow, it's harder to infect.
Oh, that makes sense.
So,
okay.
Your, fingertips and things like that, or area, wherever you don't have much blood flow.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Little easier. But in this case, so they didn't really bring up infection that much. It was more, potential nerve damage.
Nerve damage.
And that's very possible. It's what's likely to happen. And this happened with my head when I got my transplants, is that I had numbness for probably a month or so.
Okay.
They said in this case, it's possible you might have some numbness for up to a year, but it will almost generally dissipate over time. And, I worry. They say in general, that when you have surgery on your face, plastic surgery, it's 6 weeks to kind of get used to the new face in the mirror and see it kind of as you.
You will look different.
I will, and that kind of does seem weird to me. And you have to interact with me every day.
Yeah.
You see me more than I see me.
That's the thing. I think I'll be able to get used to it a lot faster than you will. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes.
How quickly did you get used to your new hair?
Because that took a week or more to heal, and then it took a long time to grow out, so...
That was a gradual process.
That was a gradual process. Okay. This is going to be... It's still going to take... I'm going to be in recovery for at least, 3 or 4 days of, the heavy recovery.
Sure.
Then, beyond that, it's going to be probably some cleaning and stuff like that. And I'm going to be pretty swollen for probably another few weeks. Maybe 2-3 weeks of swollen and bruising. So it'll be a month or so when it, just gets back to normal. Although I've seen people who've had FFS 3 days later and they look fine.
Really?
So, yeah. Or they're swollen, but they don't look they don't look grotesque.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. My biggest concern right now is, hey, let me get all this paperwork done. Let me get my cardiologist to sign off on it. Let me get insurance to approve it, and then
verify that it'll be paid for. So, if it won't be paid for, are you not going to do it?
I can't afford it.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be $30,000.
Jeez.
So, yeah, that is not in the range of affordability for me. I know some people may have affordable, but I don't have $30,000 sitting around to plunk down on surgery.
So we wait.
So we wait and see. And in the meantime, I have a giant stack of paperwork from the doctor, a giant stack of paperwork from my HR department, and a cardiologist who wants me to do a stress test on a treadmill in Gattaca.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
You could just say a stress test.
I just, we know my mind always goes to Gattaca. And if you haven't seen it, it's an excellent sci-fi movie. Flew under the radar, but I consider it one of the best sci-fi movies ever made.
I had a genetics professor who said it was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up the Gender Rebels movie corner.
I actually stopped, when I was in California, I stopped at Marin County Civic Center.
Oh my gosh.
Specifically because it was Gattaca. It was the filming location of Gattaca. Yeah. So I was like, gotta stop. Anywho. So thank y'all for checking in.
Thanks for
listening.
Let you,
we'll give you updates, let you know how it goes. And if you've had your FFS consult and are waiting to, let us know.
Or if you've gone through the experience, how was it? Or if you decided not to, what was your rationale? We would love to hear from all of our listeners.
So thank you guys.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, everybody.
Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed this episode and want to help us keep making more great content, go to patreon.com/genderrebels.
We have many different levels of support and lots of great rewards,
including Drinks with the Gender Rebels at Stonewall.
Please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That makes it easier for other people to find us.
And send your questions to questions@genderrebels.com. Or find us on Twitter at The Gender Rebels.
Music for The Gender Rebels is by Jasper the Colossal. Follow the link down below or download them on iTunes today.
And for all our episodes, visit genderrebels.com.
The Gender Rebels is a Comeback Sync production, copyright 2019. All rights reserved.
And to all you gender rebels out there, keep rebelling.
Bye.
Bye. So so basically this was the doctor there. Should I say the doctor's name? Not sure. Let's leave it off for now.
Okay.
And there's not that many. I'll just say,
okay.
There's not that many doctors.
All right.
So this was Dr. Avanesian.
Avanesian.
She's very nice.
Mm-hmm.